Today we're starting Unit 3 of our ACT prep, which are going to talk about elementary algebra topics. And today we're talking about evaluating formulas and expressions. So formulas and expressions are statements about numbers. When you talk about formulas, you guys recognize many of them. Area formulas, circumference formulas, volume formulas, okay? Expressions don't have equal signs, and to evaluate a formula or expression, all you do is substitute the values for the variables and then follow your order of operations. So the formula for the area of a square is a equals s squared, where s is the length of the side of the square. So evaluate this formula for s equals 4. They're telling me to replace s with 4. So I plug in 4, I do the math, and I get an area of 16. And then again, you should do your units. We're in centimeters, and area is always units squared. Number 2, the formula for the area of a circle is a equals pi r squared, where r is the length of the radius. So again, for this, and they tell me that r is 3, and they're telling me to use 3.14 for pi. So I have a equals 3.14 times 3 squared. And if I type that in, I get an area of 28.26, or in inches, and area is always units squared. Okay, 3, the formula for the area of a trapezoid is a equals h over 2 times the sum of the bases. Trapezoid looks something like this. You have 2 parallel sides, and those have to be the bases, and the height is always the perpendicular distance between them. So there's my formula. They give me h, they give me the first base, and they give me the second base. So I plug them in. My area is going to be my height, which is 3.5 over 2, times the first base plus the second base. And if I type that in careful, I'm going to get an area of 17.85, or in meters, and area is always units squared. Number 4, the formula for the volume of a sphere is V equals 4/3 pi times r cubed, where r is the radius of the sphere. So there's my formula. They give me r. They tell me 3.14 for pi, so my volume is going to be 4/3 times 3.14 times 6 cubed. And if I type that in, I get a volume of 904.32 centimeters, and volume always has units cubed. Alright, the formula for simple interest is interest equals principal times rate times time. Your principal is the amount that you borrow or the amount that you put into savings or deposit. Your rate is the interest rate. Look for the percent. Just remember to move to left, we got to use the decimal equivalent, not a percent. And t equals the length of the loan, or time, in years. That's what's important. The author is famous for giving you months. Well, all you do to convert months to years is divide by 12. 6 months divided by 12 is half a year. For 3 months, you would divide that by 12, which would be a quarter of a year. So they want me to evaluate this, and they give me the principal, the rate, and the time. So my interest that I earn will be my principal times my rate as a decimal, times my time in years. So they gave me months, which means I need to divide by 12. And I type that in, and I get the interest that I'll earn is $686. At the end of 30 months, I'll get my $2,800 back plus $686 in interest. Okay, number 6, if y equals 3, s equals 2.8, and k equals 1/4, what is the value of 3y minus 4s plus y over k? They're telling me to replace all these values. So, I forgot what my calculator thing is. So I'm going to have 3 times y minus 4 times s plus y over k. And I plug in. For y, everywhere I see a y, which is here and here, I put a 3. Everywhere I see an s, I put a 2.8. And everywhere I see a k, I put 1/4, which you could change to 0.25. And if I type that mess in, I get 9.8, which, as if they want a fraction, would be 49/5. Okay? All right, you try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Hopefully you got 7. It says, what is the radius of a circle if the area is 49 pi inches squared? We're talking area of a circle, which is pi r squared. And normally they give me r and make me find area. Well, this time they gave me the area is 49 pi. So that has to equal pi r squared. Well, they want me to basically get r alone. So the first thing I'm going to do is divide by pi on both sides, which cancels out, and I got 49 equals r squared. To get rid of the square, we're going to square root, and I get r equals 7. Okay? So formulas, we have the area of a triangle, the area of a square, area of a rectangle, area of a parallelogram, area of a trapezoid. For circle, we have area and circumference. For cube, we have volume. For rectangular prism, we have volume. And for sphere, we have volume. So for these, they want me to find the area. For 1 through 12, they want me to find the area. So area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. So mine's going to be 1/2 times 3 times 8. Half of 24 is 12, or use a calculator. Number 2, a square with a side s of 0.7. Area for a square is side times itself, length times width, but in the square they're the same. So if I set that up or plug this in, I have my area will be 0.7 squared, and that will give me 0.49. Okay, area of a rectangle is length times width. So all I have to do is 1.5 times 1.2, and I get 1.8. Parallelogram. You got area equals height over 2 times b1 plus b2. So I plug everything in, and my area is going to be, what did I just put there? Oh, your height. Your height over 2. So my area is going to be 1.3 over 2 times, oh, it's a parallelogram. I'm thinking it's a trapezoid, my bad. Parallelogram is just area is base times height. So my area is going to be 2.7 times 1.3. And I get 3.51. Okay, for 5, now they want the trapezoid. Okay, so my trapezoid, area for a trapezoid is my height divided by 2 times the sum of my bases, which would be 4 plus 0.5. Type all that in, and I get 2.925. Okay, triangle, area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. So plugging in what I have 1/2, b is 1/2, h is 1/4. So my area is 1/16. Okay. Alright, give me just a second. Okay, sorry about that. I'm having a bit of a cold and I want you to hear me cough. Alright, so this time they want me to find the circumference and the area of each circle. So we're looking at these two formulas. So the circumference of my circle, if you have a radius, is 2 times pi times the radius. If you're given a diameter, then my circumference is just pi times diameter, because my diameter is 2 radiuses. So on these, for circumference, we're going to use pi d. For this one, we have to use 2 pi r because you have to double your radius to get a diameter. So my circumference is going to be, my circumference is going to be 2 times pi times 2, which would be 4 pi, which would be 12.563, blah, 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 blah. The area of my circle is pi r squared. So my area is going to be 3.14 times 2 squared, which I just erased. Give me just a second again. Okay, we're back. All right, so we got our circumference. Now our area is going to be pi times r squared. So I have, well, darn it. All right, let's get our circumferences first. So on this one, my circumference is going to be pi times 6, which gives me 18.84, blah, 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 blah. And keep in mind, I didn't use 3.14 for pi, which I should have. I used just the pi key, which so my answer is more accurate than what they asked for, so just be careful. I should have paid attention to that. Okay, on this one, this is going to be circumference equals pi times 1.8, and I get the 5.654, blah, blah, blah. All right, then it wanted the area. So my area for a circle is pi r squared, which would be, in this case, be pi times 2 squared, which is 12 point, same thing. Okay, and this was only because the radius was equal to, this is 2 times 2, which is 2 squared. Okay, for this circle, my circumference is going to be pi r squared, but if my diameter is 2, then my radius is half of that, which is 3 squared, which gives me an area of, approximately 28.27. All right, my area here is going to be pi times my radius squared, which is, to get my radius, I have to cut my diameter in half. So I did that first and got 0.9, so then my area is going to be pi times my radius squared, which is 2.54 something. Okay, this one they want me to find the volume. Okay, the volume of a cube is s cubed. So volume equals s cubed, which means volume equals 0.9 cubed, which is 0.729. Number 11, a rectangular prism for a volume is length times width times height. So that's going to be 4 times 6 times 1.5. And I get a volume of 36 units cubed. Sphere, volume for a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. So mine's going to be 4/3 times pi times 3 cubed. Typing that in, I get 113.09, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here, look, I showed you. I did it twice. Here's when I used the non-rounded version of pi, and here's what I got when I used 3.14 like I was told, and see the difference. Okay, so be careful. If they say use 3.14, don't use the pi key, because your decimal will be a little bit off. Okay, use the formula D equals RT, where D equals distance, R equals rate, and T equals time to find the missing value. So on all of these, we have distance equals rate times time. Distance equals rate times time. Distance equals rate times time. So this one, I don't know distance, but I know the rate and I know the time, which gives me a distance of 120. Okay, here, I know the distance is 270. That equals the rate I don't know times the time is 90 seconds. So I plug to get R alone, I would have to divide by 90, and that gives me R equals 3 miles per second. 3 feet per second. This would be miles, so 120 miles. Okay, my third one, I know the distance is 420. And that has to equal my rate, which is 70, times my time. I don't, so to get time, I divide by 70. And I get 6. And since we're going in miles per hour, that would be 6 hours. Okay? So this one just says use a formula to solve each problem. In other words, all the other ones, they just flat out gave you what formula to use. These ones are more like ACT, where you're going to have to remember the formula yourself. 16 says at an annual rate of 11.25%, what is the simple interest earned? So that right there told me I'm looking at IPERS. When you see simple interest, you should always think IPER. Okay, what is the simple interest earned in 24 months on an account that has a principal amount of $7,500? So they're asking me to find the interest earned. They tell me that I have a principal amount of $7,500. They tell me my interest rate is 11.25. Move it 2 places over is 0.1125. And my time is 24 months, which I know needs to be in years, so I divide by 12. And I type it in and I get the interest I'm going to earn is $1,687.50. And if you can find a bank that'll give you 11.25%, please call me. All right, 17. What is the circumference of a circle with a diameter of 13 centimeters? Circumference equals pi times diameter, or 2 times pi times the radius. So my circumference is going to be pi, which they said use 3.14, times my diameter, which is 13, and I get 40.82. 18. What is the average speed of a car? I see that and I automatically think distance equals rate times time. So they gave me a distance. They're asking me for the speed, so that's my rate, and they gave me a time in hours, which is 5. Oh, so they gave me distance. So that's 290. So they want me to find the rate, so I divide by 5, and I get 58 miles per hour. 19. The height of a trapezoid is 5 inches. One base is twice the height, and the other base is half the height. What is the area of the trapezoid? I gotta draw a picture. The height is 5, so we know what h is. One base is twice the height. So if that's 5, this base has to be twice that. Oops. Twice that. And the other base is half the height. Well, if the height is 5, then the other shorter base has to be half of 5. What is the area of the trapezoid? Well, my area equals... Sorry, trying to work on my calculator. My area equals of a trapezoid, the height, which they told me was 5 over 2, times base 1, which I said was 10, plus the second base would be 2.5. Okay? So if I type that in, except for I did 1/2 times 5, that's the same thing as 5 halves. And then I did 10 plus 2.5, and I got 31.25. Okay, 20. What is the volume of a sphere with the same radius as a circle with diameter 30 millimeters? Well, formula for volume of a sphere is 4/3 times pi times r cubed. Well, what it tells me is that the circle has a diameter of 30, which means it has a radius of 15. And it says my sphere has the same radius, so I know r equals 15. So my volume is going to be 4/3 times 3.14 times 15 cubed. Okay, type that in, and you get 14,130 millimeters cubed, because in volume your units are always cubed. Belinda has $10.25 in a savings account that pays 4% simple interest. How much will she have in her account after 2 years if she makes no deposits or withdrawals? Okay, well, this is an IPERT problem. She's got this much in her savings account. That is she put that much in the savings account. That's her principal. So I have I equals 10.25 times my rate, 4% would be 0.04, times my time, 2 years. And type it in. And you get 0.04 times 2, you get 82. But that's just the interest earned. Okay? That's just the interest earned. They want to know how much money does she have in the bank, in the account after the 2 years. She's not just going to have the 1025 anymore. She's going to have the 1025 plus the interest she earned, which would give me 1107. And that would be the correct answer. Ricardo borrowed $8,500 to buy a car. How much interest will he pay if the loan is for 4 years at 8% simple interest? Again, even though he's borrowing, this is an interest problem. So I have IPERT again. And I want, let's see, his principal amount, in other words, in this case, the amount that he's borrowing to buy his car is $8,500, times my rate, which is 0.08, times my time, which is 4 years. Okay, so I type that in and I get $27.20 is what he will have to pay in addition to the $8,500 if he borrows that. All right, you try one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Hopefully you got 216. What is the volume of a cube? Well, volume of a cube is S cubed, but it doesn't tell me what S is. It just says the area of one face of the cube. Well, one face of a cube is a square, and if the area is 36 and area is side squared, then wouldn't a side just be... Anyway, yeah, if this is the area equals 36, and I want to know what length is width is, all right, my area is to this, so length times width equals 36, but these have to be the same, so side squared has to equal 36, which means a side has to equal 6. So now when I plug this in, my volume is going to be that side cubed, which is 216. Okay, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got K. Add the sum of the sides of a square with an area of this to the sum of the edges of a cube. I don't draw these very well, so bear with me. Trying to use colors so we can count sides better. That was the same. So that was done. All right, so we've got how many edges? We've got 4 sides here, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 edges here. Okay, so let's see. It said this guy has an area of 30.25. If it's a square, we know length and width are equal. So I know that the area is S squared, side times side, equals 30.25. So square root that, and I get 5.5. Okay, over here I have to find a side. It says that it has a volume of 343. Well, volume of a the area, oh my goodness. If the volume equals 343 inches cubed, because I got to figure out the length of one side. Well, that would be from side times side times side. So I can replace volume with side cubed equals 343. And then I can take the cube root and I get the side equals 7. So once the sum of the sides of a square, so there would be, if each side is 5.5, I need 4 of those. And if each side is 7, I need 12 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12 sides I need, sorry. So I need, add 12 sevens to that, and I get 106. Okay, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got D. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, it says, what is the area of a circle with circumference of 24 pi? Well, they want me to find the area, but they start off giving me a circumference is 24 pi. Right? And they want me to find the area, and they're giving me the circumference is 24 pi. Well, circumference is pi times d. So if I solve this for d, divide by pi, and I get d equals 24. Okay, so now that I know the diameter, the radius, OMG. Okay, sorry guys, I'm very tired. Circumference is pi times diameter. They give me the circumference is 24 pi, and that equals pi d. So to get the diameter, divide by pi, and I get the diameter is 24, which makes my radius half of that, which is 12. The area of a circle is pi r squared. So I have A equals 3.14 times 12 squared. And I get 100. Oh, I got the stinking pi. Instead of making this 3.14, they just left it pi. And so they squared this, and they got 144 pi units squared. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. All right, the area of a rectangle is 30 inches squared, and the length of the rectangle is 6. What is the sum of the length and width of the rectangle? Well, I've got to figure out width. Well, I know that area equals length times width, so I know that 30 equals 6 times my missing side. So to get that W alone, I'm going to divide by 6, and I get W equals 5. Okay, so if the length is 6, then the width is 5, and it wants the sum of the length and the width, and 6 plus 5 is 11. Okay, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Hopefully you got a half hour. It says John and Eric drove the same distance in separate cars. So here's John, here's Eric. So their distances are the same in separate cars. If it took John 6 hours to complete the trip, so his time, it sounds like a distance equals rate times time for me. So let's see, he gave me 6 hours, distance equals rate times time. So John's distance is going to be 65 miles an hour for 6 hours, which gives me 390. For Eric, same thing, D equals RT, but Eric is only going 60 miles an hour, so his is going to be D equals 60T, because I don't know. It says if Eric traveled, what the heck am I doing? Average distance equals rate 60 times time, and it's asking how much longer it would take, so I don't know. I call it T. But this problem has too many variables to solve for, so we use a little bit of substitution. It said they drove the same distance. Well, now that I know John's distance, I know Eric's distance has to equal 60T. So now we're going to divide by 60, and I get T equals 6.5. Okay, so it's going to take Eric, how do I get, how much longer would the trip take Eric? Well, if John went 6 hours and Eric went 6.5 hours, that means Eric took a half hour longer than John. Okay? Alright. That does it for today. So, happy studying, and I will see you next time.